The views and opinions expressed in Media Litter Sandwich do not reflect on the views of the network, station, studio, website, sponsors, guests, hosts themselves, anyone or anything else associated or even not associated with this podcast. Maybe not even the person that said them. In other words, do your own research and do not sue anyone over what is said on this show.
Welcome to Toaden's Media Litter Sandwich. I'm Toaden, and if someone shared this to you, so you're trying to figure out where to watch the next episode, or to watch the video version, or to know that there is an audio version, you can find both on Toaden.com, MediaLitterSandwich.com, Spotify, YouTube. I just posted a whole episode on Facebook because I want to see if I could actually do it. So it's all over the place, most podcast apps. And if you want to be the first person to listen to and maybe get uncut stuff, go over to the Patreon and you can do that. And you also can help contribute towards other film projects and stuff like that. If you want to be the second person to listen to it, you can go over to dvradio.net every Tuesday night at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm in there in the chat room. And my guest tonight has a glorious beard. So if you can't check out the video version, go ahead and check out the video version on YouTube. And if you like that better, follow it, subscribe, or just follow whatever version you want to follow. That's cool. And this guy knows multiple platforms. Please introduce yourself. Let me know what you do.
Well, my name is Branden O'Brien. I am a small business owner, Marine Corps veteran. I do wood turning. More specifically, I specialize in custom-made wood rings. Although from time to time, you'll find me making some oddball stuff like biscuit cutters and rolling pins and bowls and whatnot. But yeah, custom rings is my forte. I'm all over the place, like you were saying. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. Heck, I'm even on TikTok. So wherever, it's all, my little business is called Handmade by Branden. And along with that, I do a lot of work with disgruntled vets. I'm lucky enough to have the head guy, Chappie, here in town with me. So we do quite a bit together. And we, support vets and raise money for different causes. And it's great. It's nice to be a part of the veteran community like that.
And what some of the charities does Disgruntle do?
Oh, man.
One of them, because if you don't plug it, I have to plug it.
Yep, it's DV Farm, and your green screen is messing with you.
Yeah, that's all right. I guess I can't plug it in by video like that right now.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we raise a lot. Well, we try to raise a lot of money for the DV Farm. We also work a lot with Vet Catch out of Florida, 22 Until None, which is a national organization, but we do participate, and help out locally as much as possible. Really, we just want to help vets get back in the right frame of mind, whether it's, preventing the homelessness, preventing suicide, helping with PTSD and the other myriad friggin' mental problems that we end up with over the years. But we do quite a bit. It's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it. And I know a lot of people don't like to shop Amazon, but those that do, or those that feel like they're forced to, use Smile.Amazon. No cost to you. A little bit goes to a charity of your choice. And because I'm on DV Radio, I'll go ahead and shout out DV Farm. That's the charity of my choice.
Yeah, so Six is a great guy. He's doing amazing things.
Oh, absolutely. He hasn't been on Barracks Talk in a while though, but
yeah,
he hasn't been on the radio program in a bit. But I know he's busy all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think he knows how to slow down.
So how'd you start making rings? Because I'm noticing, I'm looking through your stuff. I just see all sorts of different rings. Like that's your major thing, right?
It is. Well, I started out wood turning because, well, I was watching YouTube videos and it was relaxing to watch. And I figured, well, if it's relaxing to watch, let me try it. So I bought a lathe and I started turning, and I found out real quick that wood turning got me out of my head and helped me focus on something productive and, you know, enjoyable to do. Well, I've always liked making jewelry, and I saw a video about making rings, and that's kind of when the addiction started. But yeah, it's nice being able to do the rings. I do a lot of engagement bands and things like that, and it's fun to put a story behind it. You know, I've done rings that people have sent me wood from trees that they cut down in the first house that they bought together. Um, you know, I'm getting ready to do a set of rings that's going to have sand from the beach where the couple got engaged. So um, I like having the story behind them. Um, you know, you saw on my webpage, you know, I've got my Marine Corps ring. You know, part of that ring, the center band of it is actually sand from Iwo Jima. And you know, it's one of those things that you're not just going to put up on a wall. You know, you're gonna wear it around town. It's going to mean something to you. Um, it's just, you know, it's a neat part of somebody's life to be a part of.
Yeah, it's very personal.
It is.
Man, how do you communicate with your clients when you're doing such a personal thing? And how do you make that into a dollar amount?
So I spend a lot of time chatting with people, whether it's, you know, via Facebook Messenger or, you know, if we're getting super crazy, via phone or, you know, video chats, and, you know, I'll kick designs around and all that. But as far as a dollar amount goes, it's a simple formula. I don't charge for the consultation part of it. So, I mean, there's been times where I've spent more time designing than I've actually spent making the ring. But, you know, it's materials, time, um, profit, you know, simple business formula. So if I was to charge for, you know, the design time and consultation time, it'd get stupid. So I don't do that. I try to keep my stuff affordable for people. So
Oh man! And you do this full time? If you don't, you don't have to tell me what your day job is if you don't do it full time.
no, I don't do it full time. I was for a little while, but it wasn't consistent enough to keep the bills paid. So I did pick up a part-time job. But yeah, it for the most part keeps me afloat, which is great.
So it started off as like therapeutic wood turning, and just turned into a very personal thing you have with your clients.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, they would see it as personal. You might just see it as work. Oh yeah, some sand. Yeah, I'll sprinkle this in here and a little bit.
That's the nice thing about this is it doesn't feel like work. Mm-hmm. You know, it is. It's still very personal for me. You know, people have sent me ashes of their dogs, so they, you know, cremated remains. So they'll send them to me and they'll tell me stories about their dogs that they send me, and I'll inlay it into a ring. And, you know, I get to become part of their life by them sharing it with me. So, you know, it's neat that it's not work, because I'm doing something for what really most of my clients become friends in one way or another.
Like, that's not what you set out to do, I'm assuming.
No, not even a little bit. I hate people for the most part. But you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it pulled me outside of my comfort zone, and it forced me to, you know, interact more with people. And, you know, it's helped me in that regard too. So, you know, because I was pretty much a hermit for years and years, and it's pulled me out of a huge funk, and got me moving in the right direction. So
Now, in the Marine Corps, you said you're a combat photographer.
Yes.
So how do you go from, like, did you try to keep up photography or videography or any of that stuff once you got out?
Yeah, I did. I spent 8 years as a photographer. And when I got out, I thought I was going to have jobs lined up left and right. But
It never works out like that. At least
never does. Never.
you got the job I wanted. I couldn't get into that, so I got into the warehouse, and that's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, you kidding me? You're overqualified for this.
Right. Well, and that was it. Yeah, I was either overqualified or I didn't know the right people to shake the right hands to get the job.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did some freelance stuff for a while. At the time, I was living in Northern Virginia, so I did a lot of freelance stuff for congressional balls and, basically prom photos for like inaugural stuff. And then sports team photography. And then like most photographers and videographers that get out of the military, I did wedding photography for a while. And got tired of the bridezilla stuff, so I just said, screw it. I'm not doing it. And
I've always said with video, after that, by trade, I'm a videographer. Mm-hmm. And I always said I do funerals before I do weddings full time. And I almost got close to funerals are an interesting gig. I said that jokingly. I didn't know people that was an actual thing. I've told those stories on the show before. I'm going to say it is an actual thing. And I'd rather do those than weddings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've done a couple funerals. Mm-hmm. One of the majors that I worked with out of the Pentagon, his father passed and was buried in Arlington. So I was lucky enough to take photos of that. And man, I'll tell you, there's nothing like a military funeral in Arlington Cemetery. It was kind of wild.
Wow. Yeah. Not only how do you do this live? You have a YouTube channel, and you do it live on YouTube or Facebook, but you brings it live.
So most of the time I go live on Facebook. Okay. I've got 3 cameras right now set up, and I use OBS Studio, and I basically joke around with people and get ideas from the crowd, and there's plenty of times where I'll get on without a plan and I'll say, hey guys, what am I making tonight? I actually went live on April 20th, and they convinced me to make a pipe. So I real quick turned pipe, and we just have fun with it.
Nice. That's cool. Now I want a pipe.
Right? I don't know that it's actually usable. It was made out of walnut wood, and the intended purpose burns a little hotter than what that should be used for. But hey, it got made.
If anything, when you're talking to somebody, or like if you have a daughter and she brings a date, you have a nice prop you can hold in your hand. Like, really? Tell me more.
Yeah. No, this is just a little stubby thing. But no, I've got plenty of fun stuff for all that. I've got a shop full of power tools. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like, how do you? Okay, so I used to do like the whole 3-4 camera shoot and stuff. How do you do that? Like, and participate in the live audience? Do you have help while you're doing this, or is just all you do?
It's all me. I've got my keyboard set up next to my lathe. I'm actually sitting on my lathe right now, but I've got my keyboard set up with hotkeys, and as I'm describing what I'm doing, I'll hit the hotkey that shows the best angle to illustrate, what I'm talking about, and then just start turning.
Yeah, man, I should start doing that versus me just rewatching the entire show on another day.
Right.
Oh man, it's a good way to drive yourself nuts, but it's perfectly okay.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't do a whole lot with YouTube.
Mhm.
Because when I edit my YouTube videos, I end up watching myself 15, 20, 25 times to get it edited down. I get so tired of hearing myself talk that I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm done. And so I'm starting to do more lives on YouTube for that reason.
So you have a lot of Marine Corps stuff in your background. You mentioned a certain photo. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Which photo was
Oh,
that?
you said the colors.
Oh, the colors? Yeah. Well, like I said, I was a photographer. The last couple of years that I was in, I worked for General Hagee as his photographer. And when I left, he presented me with this flag and little plaque. It says presented by General Hagee, 33rd Commandant of the Marine Corps. So that lives in my shop with me.
That's pretty cool.
And it's crooked now, so I'll fix that later. But
man, you got a plaque, man. All I got was a shoe print on my butt.
Yeah. I must have done something right, because he gave me that, and when I left the 13th MU, they gave me the K-bar.
What?
Yeah.
I never got a farewell plaque or anything. Like I knew so many people got farewell plaques. I didn't get nothing. So you have your shop and you have the Etsy shop. You actually, it seems like you don't have any prices on your own website, but you have the prices on Etsy. What?
So they changed the tax laws not too long ago for online shopping, and what I just pulled everything off of my website. I do everything through Etsy now.
Okay.
As far as, you know, like the pre-made stuff, the custom stuff, I send out an invoice and do that. But most of the time I go through Etsy because of the tax laws. It's too much to keep track of, you know, because if I was to sell you something where you are, I would have to pay state and local taxes to your area. Well, there's paperwork involved in that. Etsy handles that. So, you know, like the few designs that I've got up on Etsy, those I let Etsy deal with that. And the custom stuff, you know, I'll deal with that from time to time. So it's not as much of a workload.
Yeah, it makes sense. That way you have a streamlined kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it's less garbage to deal with.
Yeah, I just heard someone complain how Etsy upped all their prices, but that explains it.
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Okay. Yeah. Let's stick to the fun stuff. Tell me something fun. Well, where's a fun area we can bring this to?
I don't know. But yeah, I'm trying to think.
Well, I noticed you got some disgruntled rings on your website.
I do actually. I'm wearing one. It's a reminder.
Screenshot this. They're beautiful.
Thanks. So Chappie and I, we had quite a few meetings at our favorite veteran-owned brewery, and you know, he wanted to do a disgruntled ring, and we kicked it around for a couple weeks, and then we started talking. Well, it shouldn't be just disgruntled; it should have some meaning behind it. And you know, the biggest thing that veterans are faced with, well, I shouldn't say the biggest thing, but veteran suicide is a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so we designed the disgruntled ring to be a reminder that you've got a community behind you, and you should lean on them before you consider suicide. It's also, for those that know, it's a sign that if somebody's wearing this, they got your back. You can go to them with whatever problem that you've got, and they'll sit and listen and do everything they can to talk you through and help you through that tough time. We specifically designed it with the intention of wearing it on the trigger finger for that reason. So, yeah, that's there's a whole lot of meaning behind that. Everything from, you know, from all that I just said to the wood that we use. It's actually harvested and milled by a veteran out in Virginia, RST Woodworks. And the only thing that isn't veteran made is the black ceramic band itself. So yeah, we try to keep the veteran community going with this one as much as we can.
Okay, I gotta ask this question just because I don't turn, so I don't know.
Mhm.
Dude, your beard, that's gotta be a hazard of some sort.
So every once in a while, I shouldn't say it. I get that comment a lot. The thing about turning, you're not hugging your lathe. So I'm standing back at arm's distance when I'm turning. And I mean, my beard's long, but it's not quite that long.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Plus, I'm usually wearing a face shield, and that keeps it pinned to my chest. So
Makes sense.
I'm not getting pulled into my lathe. I like my face where it is.
I mean, I worry. I mean, I don't have this long hair anymore, but I used to worry about my long hair when I'd be doing different types of work, especially if I'm crawling around around different racks and stuff like that, and get all sorts of stuff shut. I can't even wear a wired heads. Can't even wear wired headphones without wire being yanked out.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm pretty conscious of where my beard is at all times when I'm working with power tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fun to have it pulled in that manner.
No. Oh man. So what year? Mind if I ask which years you're in?
I was in from 97 to 2005.
Oh wow. So you thought about going career.
For a minute, yeah. And it's in for 8 years, and really they got me because what happened was during my first enlistment, they dangled this carrot. And that carrot was a specialty military photojournalism course at Syracuse University. And
So were you a different MOS then, or?
No, I started out as a photographer.
Okay.
But apparently I impressed the right people, and they said, "Hey, you need to do this." So I put my packet in, and they shipped me off to Syracuse after I got back from my second float. And I spent a year up there doing photojournalism and advertising photography and news photography and all that, learning all that fun stuff.
Wow, I can't believe like they did that.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And then you did a normal 3 year then after that.
Yep. I spent an extra 3 years after.
Wow. I mean, during my 4 years, they're like, hey, you're gonna get a Navy Achievement Medal for this and this. And then, but we're going to wait till you go back from your deployment. We're going to wait.
Right.
So I actually volunteered to stay behind my first deployment for a few extra months. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, wow. I'm watching everyone I'm working with because I'm doing stuff where everyone I'm around is getting some kind of, medal or a certificate or something like, oh, yeah, you're going to have a lot of stuff on your ear. It's going to look good.
Right.
Like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I already earned, you already said I'm going to get it. You're just adding more stuff to it to make sure I get it.
Yeah.
And then someone comes up, at this point, all of my seniority already went back home.
Okay.
Except for one person. And that one person got my medal with everything I did on it.
Oh.
And when I called them out on it, he just said, dude, you're not re-enlisting. What do you care?
Wow.
Well, thank you for making the choice for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It's like, I still got like 2 years left at that point.
Right. That's brutal.
Oh yeah. And then the whole unit disbanded. It's like, I still don't have a farewell plaque or nothing. Okay. And it was weird. At least I was treated right for at least 6 months of my time.
Right.
Before they kicked me out without nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, thanks for playing. Bye.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you don't even have time for a health screening. You just have to leave. Well, that's how I remember my time in the Marine Corps.
Right.
Not bitter at all.
No, I don't pick that up. That was a fun part about being a photographer, because back then, digital photography wasn't a thing. So when we're out on deployment, I've got the equipment or I had the equipment to develop film. So 2 Westpaks and the only film processing machine for 3,000 people, I saw some pretty interesting things. So you know, I got hooked up quite a bit to keep quiet about the things I saw.
But what fun stuff are you doing now? Let's talk about the fun stuff we do now. I mean, you got the Facebook show, you've got the rings, you've got bowls. You feel you get the whim to do something, you can just do it.
Yeah. I do. There's times where I'll pop out to the shop at 9, 10, midnight and just make a bowl or, a vase or something.
Mm-hmm.
It does it. It helps with the anxiety and all that fun stuff. But I don't even have anything within reach that I can show you. But just
I showed your gallery earlier.
Yeah.
The video version is different than the audio version. Go ahead and prop out your website if people would like to see that.
Yeah, my website is handmadebybranden.com. My mom hates me, so she spelled Branden unlike anybody else. It's Branden. But yeah, handmadebybranden.com. It's got links to all my social media there as well. But yeah, I do a lot with. Well, I try to keep up with that as much as I can. Updating the web page and all that fun stuff. Updates come a lot more regularly to Facebook and Instagram with the new fun stuff that I'm putting out. But then like I said, I do my lives every Monday on Facebook. And a while back, I decided I'm just going to do rings on Monday. So there's other times during the week where I'll pop on randomly and just, turn a bowl. I call
Not that kind of bowl, the one you eat out of.
Right. Yeah. We'll eat out of, or, fruit bowls, things like that.
Fruit bowl, I call those cereal bowls.
You could use it for that. You get a whole half box of cereal in there.
Well, there you go. Get the Frosty Flakes mixed with Lucky Charms.
Right. Exactly.
One bowl. I am not going to Google and see if that's already a website, but if it is,
no, 2 cereals, 1 bowl is way too similar to another website that I caught people with a lot. Other fun stuff that I'm doing, like I said, I do a lot with Disgruntled. We hold a lot of different events. The last one we did was No Shave November. We raised about $13,000 for Vet Catch. Before that, we've done spades tournaments. Last summer, we did Vet Fest here in Colorado Springs, where we raised money for 22 Until None in the DV farm. We're gearing up to do Vet Fest again on July 25th.
Is that going to be completely virtual, or is that going to be
we're
person?
As of right now, we're hoping and praying and hedging our bets towards an actual event.
Okay.
But there is some talk if we have to go virtual, we'll do something. Because we do, we're supporting DV Farm and we're supporting 22 Until None with this one. So, we don't want to just go, oh, sorry, we can't have our event. You guys don't get the contribution. So I'm starting to gear up to actually start collecting items for the raffle to raise money through raffles and things like that. So anybody that does handmade goods, we're collecting those. We try to make, we focus on veteran businesses. Another thing that I help Disgruntled with is the Disgruntled Entrepreneur Group, where it's veteran entrepreneurs getting together, sharing ideas, networking, things like that. So yeah, we're all over the place with that. I stay busy.
How popular is the Disgruntled rings?
Not as popular as we'd like.
Yeah, because I know usually when people do that, it'd be like, okay, there's 500 of these or there's 1,000 of these. You just make these on demand?
I make them on demand. They're $150 a piece. Honestly, I should be charging twice that for the amount of work and stuff that goes into it. But
yeah, I was gonna say, looking at it.
Yeah, I try to keep especially that ring, I want that as accessible as possible.
Okay.
Because it means so much to me, and it means so much to Chappie and the vets in general. And I tell people all the time,
Now I want one.
right? And it's not just for vets. There's a huge vet tie to it, but civilians, people that have never served, they suffer through anxiety and suicidal, all that. So, um, I want people to get this ring, more than I want to make money from it. So, it means a lot. Plus, I do, 22% of my profits, they go to veteran charity, so it's either right now, it's either Vet Catch, DV Farm, or 22 Until None. Those are the three that I rotate through.
Wow.
So,
is that every order, or is that
every
like just everything after the year circulated or something?
that's everything. I'll do a donation once a quarter, somewhere in there, get it all added up. So some quarters are better than others.
Yeah, and you chose that number 22, which is very
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to go too much into it. I mean, you already mentioned one charity that uses 22. People don't know what the number 22 means to the veteran community. Go ahead and Google it, and you're going to be sobered up when you're done.
Exactly. Read the description on my reminder ring on Etsy. It doesn't go specifically into the meaning of 22, but it talks a whole heck of a lot about how to prevent it.
Yeah. All right, I need a funny story. I need something. What's something that never would have happened if you didn't start this business? Give me a funny story or something really lighthearted. It could be you socking Chappie in the face. I don't care.
I wouldn't have probably never met Chappie. I found Disgruntled through a sponsored ad on Instagram about Vet Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And it was talking about, hey, Vet Fest is happening. We're going to have raffles and donations. And I reached out and I said, hey, do you guys need more stuff? And he says, well, yeah. So I donated 3 carbon fiber rings, custom made for Vet Fest, to help raise money. Then we met up at Brass over here downtown, which is a veteran-owned brewery. And we started telling stories. And he asked me about what I did in the Marine Corps. Well, I told him I was a photographer. And, as veterans tend to do, we start telling stories about our time in, and he's still active duty.
Yeah.
So he's still dealing with the crazy. But one of my favorite stories was I was with General Hagee in Jordan, and he was going to meet the King of Jordan. And if you've ever seen pictures of the palace in Jordan, there's rings of walls. The palace is basically on top of the hill, and then every couple hundred feet there's a wall. Well, you go in one gate, you go a quarter of the way around one wall, and go through another gate. Well, we get through about 8 different levels of security, and the last one before you get through the final wall, there's a little tea house there. And what they called a tea house, where basically you wait. So there's me and General Hagee, and there's security and aides and everybody else that accompanies the commandant of the Marine Corps on one of these trips. Well, General Hagee says, well, who can I take in with me? And the King's liaison says, well, you can take your aide and you can take your security guy. And I was like, well, didn't mention me, so I guess I'm sitting this one out. Then he says, well, how am I getting up there? Are we driving or can I walk? And they said, well, if you really want to, you could walk. And he said, I'd prefer to do that. So me being me and trying to accomplish the mission, when they stood up to go to the palace, I stood up with them like I was supposed to go. And I figured, well, if I'm not supposed to be there, they'll stop me.
Right.
We get to the gate at the wall, and I'm like, all right, well, they're going to stop me here. And they didn't. Then we had to get into the palace itself. And I figured, well, I made it through the gate. Maybe I can make it into the actual palace. Worst case, I'll get a couple pictures of the general in front of the palace, and I'll call it good. They didn't stop me going through the door of the palace. They direct us into the library to wait for the king to come out.
And you're getting pictures every step of the way, or?
Oh yeah, I'm taking pictures the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I was supposed to do, document what he's doing. And so we're standing there, and I'm taking pictures, and he didn't realize I was there. But
this is you must be with a lot of people and not realize that you're there.
I was really good at blending into the background.
Okay.
So King comes in. I'm the first person that the King of Jordan greets as he comes into the library. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm not supposed to be attracting attention to myself. So he shakes my hand, and then he goes over and he greets the general and his wife and everybody else that's there. And he says, well, follow me into the living room and sit down and they'll talk. Well, one of the big things with any of these diplomatic meetings is there's a gift exchange. And my main purpose in life with those meetings was to take pictures and, document that gift exchange. And I did. They did their thing. They shook the hands. They did their little photo op for the king's photographer. And I'm over there, zoomed in and taking pictures. And then security notices me. And all of a sudden, I see these two big Jordanian dudes come up. They're walking straight at me. I'm facing them. One guy hooks my left arm. One guy hooks my right arm. They pick me up about 2 inches off the floor and carry me backwards outside out of the living room and to the door that I thought I was going to get stopped at. And they said, you're not supposed to be here. I said, okay, I'll go back to the tea house. Thanks. Well, on the plane that night, General calls me up. He's like, Sergeant O'Brien, I really wish you would have been there, because that was a really neat thing for me to experience. That's the first king I've ever met. And I said, well, actually, sir, I've got a CD with the photos on it. He says, did you get that from the king's photographer? I said, no, sir, I was there. And he says, what? I said, that's what you pay me to do, sir. I got the pictures and I got out. He says, how did you manage that? They said I could only take, and I told him, what I just told you. And he just laughed. And actually, when he presented me with the plaque, he told that story because he still, couldn't believe that I pulled off sneaking into the palace of the King of Jordan to get pictures. So that was a fun time. I look back and think, well, I probably could have caused an international incident of some sort, but nothing ever came of it, and I got the job.
I think you're used to it at that point.
Yeah. So good time.
I only brought the essential people, including my photographer.
Right. He didn't even realize I was there. Because he was so used to seeing me that I blended into the background. I wasn't in uniform most of the time. I was usually in a suit and tie. And I just snuck around and took pictures.
Wait, how do you afford a suit and tie on a Marine Corps pay?
When you go to headquarters Marine Corps as a photographer, you actually get 20 some years ago, we got a clothing allowance for it.
Okay. Because I got a clothing allowance, but it wasn't like that. My clothing allowance was not enough to pay for, because as you were as well, and during the uniform switch in like 03 and 04, my clothing allowance didn't they didn't cover that.
No, that was a lot of out of pocket on that.
Anyway, so do you have any other stories or anything you want to get out there before we end this?
Yeah, I mean, just in
And
general.
we talk about rings, but what else do you work on? What else do you want to like get out there?
As far as rings go,
As far as anything that you're working on or want to get out there.
No,
Not saying this is popular. I'm just saying.
Right. No, rings are they're my main focus. Also, oddball stuff here and there, bowls and whatever art pieces that I come up with. But I mean, that the rings are my bread and butter. I do custom stuff. I've got a couple designs that I have up on Etsy. The reminder ring. I've got my Marine Corps ring. That I actually, like I said earlier, I've got sand from Iwo Jima that I use in that Marine Corps ring. I forget what other designs I've got up there right now, but yeah, anything, if it can be cut, crushed, or shaped, I can probably make it into a ring, which is a challenge at times because people come to me with some crazy stuff. But I can usually find a way to make it happen.
What's the that you can talk about?
Mm-hmm.
What's the craziest thing people came up to you with wanting a ring made out of?
So not so much crazy material, but like crazy design wise. I've got one ring that I made. It was for a wedding ring, and she wanted dinosaur bone and meteorite. Well, she didn't want the dinosaur bone crushed. She wanted it solid. Well, the process to get this dinosaur bone inlaid was mind-numbingly difficult because the final thickness was like 1.2 millimeters thick, and I had never done any work shaping stone before. So I get into a couple lapidary groups. I'm like, hey guys, how do you do this? They said, well, it can't be done. It's too thin. It'll shatter. So I was like, well, I just got paid, crazy amounts of money to make this ring. I got to figure it out. So I made one for myself to figure out the process. And once I figured out the process, I did it for her ring. So I've actually still got that ring for myself because it's freaking crazy. But it's called agatized dinosaur gem bone. And it's not an easy material to find. The meteorite's actually a lot easier. But yeah, dinosaur bone was definitely the biggest challenge so far. But as far as like crazy stuff, most people would think cremated remains are crazy. But I do quite a few memorial rings, whether it's pets or people or whatever. If somebody wants to carry a loved one with them, that's a way for them to do that. So at any given time, I've got at least 2 dead people in my workshop, which is weird.
At least someone's there, keep an eye.
Yeah, I mean, they only talk to me once in a while.
Go ahead and shout all your stuff out one more time.
Yep. If you want to find me, I am at handmadebybranden.com. I'm also on Facebook, Handmade by Branden, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Handmade by Branden. It's I'm fairly easy to find. If you're on any of the disgruntled pages, you'll find me on those. Like I said, I'm part of the team that runs Disgruntled Entrepreneurs. So if you're a veteran or veteran spouse that has a small business or even a big business, we'll do everything we can to help you grow and learn there. If you're a veteran, and you're having problems, reach out. There's always going to be somebody there to help you out. So that's me.
And of course, I'm Toaden from Toaden.com, MediaLiterSandwich.com. And you can find this all sorts of places. If you think anyone that would get a kick out of this, could be a craftsman, could be veterans, could be people looking for a unique wedding ring or collectibles. I'm sure other people would love to hear about Branden and his stuff. Go ahead and share this with me. That's the biggest help I can get, and it's big help for him. and all the charities we mentioned. It helps. It really does. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed our discussion, and may the algorithms be in your favor.
And the next episode of Media Litter Sandwich.
So I'm Chappie, the one of the owners of Disgruntled Vets, and then this is my wife, Al.
Yep.
Al. She is the president of the board of Disgruntled Vets, and yeah, we kind of do everything. If you guys have seen us on Facebook, we're one of the larger Facebook pages now.